Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo. And when you go to sit down and send out a newsletter or an email to people on your list, and you get frustrated because you're sitting there thinking, what do I put together in this newsletter? How do I take that article I wrote and make it effective in this email I'm going to send out there? Or maybe you're thinking, putting this all together takes me just too much time and I don't want to do it. This is something that is very common. Most private practice owners and service providers want to stay consistent with their email marketing. They want to send newsletters. They understand the importance of it, but they get stuck staring at a blank screen. And that's why in this episode, I'm going to give you the exact newsletter template and formula that I teach my clients and students in my Thrive Marketing Academy. It is a simple structure you can follow every single time you sit down to put that newsletter together. And here's the best part. This is not just about sending emails. Your newsletter is not just an email you send out to people. It is one of the marketing tools you have that helps you build relationships with people who have already said yes to wanting to hear from you. The people on your email list aren't cold leads and they're not strangers on the internet. They are people who've downloaded a free item you had, a lead magnet, or maybe they signed up for a wait list. They could even be people who booked a consult and are looking to stay in touch with you. They could be clients as well, past clients. Your newsletter is one of the best ways that you can nurture that connection, that starting point you have with people so that when they are ready to book or refer or work with you again, you're the first person they think of. This template is one of the core lessons and email marketing strategies I teach in the Academy. Because private practice owners need marketing systems they can stick with, not systems that take over their entire week. I'll tell you, recently I have been part of some sessions, shall we say. I'm not going to give anything away. And I'm actually kind of amazed at some people and how they are teaching business owners to be out there and putting out a ton of content without a strategy, without a focus. So we don't want this happening. And that's why I want to make sure that you understand, and this is what I've been sharing in some of the lessons recently, the importance of consistency when you're marketing your business or your practice, and how that anchor content, that one key article that you need to write, gets used as a blog, as a newsletter, and it's the basis of almost all your social media content. And in episode 158, we covered how to write blog posts for your private practice that actually bring in clients. Today's episode is all about using that same piece of anchor content, the article you're putting on your blog, but using it in your newsletter and formatting it for sending by email. And again, the best part about all of this is not only does it make it easier to put your newsletter together, it makes it easier so that you can do it consistently. And the biggest bonus, of course, is it's going to save you time. Less marketing in less time with more results. That's what it's all about. And who doesn't want that? Let's jump into how you can write and put together your newsletter in a way that helps grow your private practice or business. And this is really a structure for how you're going to put that newsletter together in your email marketing system. It's a structure I recommend for private practice owners, for therapists, for coaches, for service providers. You all are selling your brilliance, your expertise, your services. You want to think about this as a template because it is repeatable and it does save you time. But it's also a formula because it's designed to help you build relationships and get results, not just fill up some space in somebody's inbox. Now, there are 10 aspects to this template in total, And we're going to start off, of course, with number 1, which is the subject line. Now, the subject line for any email marketing newsletter you send is the gatekeeper and the decision factor that is going to affect how many people will open and read your email. Most people decide whether or not to open that email based on the subject line alone. That means you want to keep it short and simple. I like 6 to 8 words. That's ideal. You want to make it intriguing, but not clickbait. So don't be tricking people with whatever you put in the subject line. And of course, you want to remember not to do things like use all caps or too many punctuation marks, too many emojis. Those can be spam triggers that will end up putting you in email purgatory versus getting it delivered to everybody's inbox. And there's 2 critical things I want you to understand about subject lines. It is often the very last thing you will decide on when you put your newsletter together because it is based on everything you put in the newsletter. And your email subject line should never be the exact same wording as your blog title. There may be 1 or 2 times that this might come into play, but in all the time I've been doing this, it is never the same. And it's because when you're putting these newsletters together and your blogs together, you're putting them both in their places for 2 different reasons. Remember, the blog is written primarily for search engines to find you and people to find you as well, and hopefully connecting them both. So that's why you focus on keywords and SEO strategies with a blog title. But a newsletter is all about getting those opens. A blog title will not often work here. You need to use this space almost like an advertisement area that's going to entice people to open it up. I really prefer curiosity-invoking subject lines that do not give away the content. They're the best ones to use because people really aren't going to prejudge what you're going to share in it. And instead, they're going to wonder what it's all about and want to open it. Subject lines are number 1. You have to have really effective ones, and you'll often put it together after you've written the article. Now, the second thing here is a pre-header text or a preview line or a second line. This is something that some email marketing systems allow. And it's so that when people open up their emails in their inbox, some people on different systems, it's not the same everywhere. So Outlook might be different than Yahoo or emails on Hotmail or in Google. But putting it together is a way to add a little more context to the subject line. And it helps people, number 1, they can see it in their inbox. So as a subtitle, that's often going to help them continue on and take that subject line, add more to it, build more curiosity, and encourage more people to open the email. Now, recently though, I will tell you, I've heard some advice about leaving this space blank too, or blank and with 1 emoji or something in it. And the reason that the person shared this advice was because it might actually help your email stand out better in the inbox when compared to all the other ones that have full lines of content. So if you use a second preview line, that second line in there with nothing in it but maybe 1 emoji, your email will have less content in it, which can actually make it stand out more in someone's inbox. This is something I'm going to be trying after this recording goes live. So I can't tell you right now what my results will be, but I will tell you that this is something I'm going to try out, and I will be doing an update on that, possibly by the time the show notes go live here or afterwards, but I will give you an update on if that worked and made a difference for me or not. The third thing is alternative text on images. And this text that you can add to your images in your email system helps your email still make sense, even if the images don't load so people can see the images. People will be able to read those alternative text words, and when they can't see the image, the words finish the rest of the story for them. It's also a part of making things more accessible online and ensuring people understand your message from the content. Search engines use these alt text on images on website pages to understand the content better for people who put that image on a website online. And it also works for people that do publish their newsletters online. I don't recommend doing this, but for anyone who does, using that alternative text is going to be even more important. Almost every email system has a spot when you upload an image to include in your newsletter, you can add and write in the alternative text. Typically, it's a description of what it is there. And I always like to make sure it's a keyword-rich description too. The fourth thing in this is making sure that you include some personality. So a personal intro in your newsletter and making sure that you have a signature or sign off in there as well. The newsletters are going out to people who have some idea of who you are. So you want to start with something a little personal or relatable. Then you segue into the content that you have to share. So some ideas about this could be a behind the scenes update or even a story that leads into the lesson you want to share. Or it could be a simple, hey, Kathy, here's what I'm sharing with you today and here's why. These are words and content you often don't put on the blog because the content is meant to nurture the people who know you and have an idea about you and to build those relationships. Now, getting personal does not mean any too much information type of personal. We're not talking TMI content here, but you want to make it personal enough so that people get to know you more. That is what is key here. In the newsletter, you also want to make sure you're signing off and closing with a signature and contact information the same way you do in a private email you send to people. This makes it easier for them to not only reach out to you, but it solidifies who you are. You keep having your name in there. I can't tell you how many emails and newsletters I've gotten, and they don't have any information about the author. And if you don't remember when and where you signed up for things, you may not remember who that person is. So this is why I think it's very important to make sure you always have a signature line in there or a sign off of some sort as well. And of course, the fifth part in here is your main article, the message or lesson you are sharing. And this is the heart of your email newsletter if the one that you're sending out is intended to have an article with information to help people and something they can learn. So if you've created that anchor content that you want to use on your blog, this is where you're going to repurpose it into the newsletter article. Now, the article itself is not going to change a whole lot in here from the blog content itself. There may be subtle changes you make. So if on a blog you say, reach out to me and it's your contact page you link to, well, in here, you can tell them to reply to the email. So you want to make sure you're following some of those blog rules, like formatting it for easy online reading, adding subheadlines, bold font, lists, bullet points, quotes, images, all of that will break up the text and make it easier for people to read online. Of course, it's going to include that core lesson that you created and want to share. And I tell people here to share the full lesson too. So do not just share a teaser with a link to read it on your blog. The entire article should go in here. And I have my reasons for this. And in the next episode, I'm actually going to explain why I recommend putting the whole article in your email and not just a teaser that says, you can read my article about XXX on my website. There are occasional times that, yes, that fits. But for general monthly or bi-weekly newsletters, I do not recommend you do this. I've got a whole episode on why, and we'll talk about it next time. So be sure that you follow my podcast wherever you're listening in so that you get notified when that episode is ready. And the whole point about this is you're putting this article together in here because it's one of the ways you're repurposing that main anchor content you created. It saves you time, you create less content, but you're using it in a way that helps you get more reach and in different ways. So the template here is a key piece of what I teach in the Thrive Marketing Method. And it's all about making sure that you're following this formula so that you're putting the newsletter together in the best way possible to get the most results from that email that you're sending out. Now, these first 5 pieces that I just shared, they are the 5 core elements in your newsletter. The next 5 I'm going to share are optional, but they can help you fill in some of the blanks and make sure that your newsletter is speaking to everyone, even the people who may not want to be reading that article you've shared today or might not be interested in that particular lesson. So here's some of the other things you can add into your newsletter to add a little more variety to it, a little more information, so that you're capturing the attention of everybody that might be on your email list that is getting the chance to open it and read it. So number 6 on this list is highlight an event or promotion that you have going on. If you have a program or a service or an offer or a special event happening, have a call to action in here. You don't want to overdo it, but you do want to make sure that you are including some sales pieces in your emails and newsletters as well. Number 7 is you can include client testimonials. You see this all the time in my emails and newsletters if you're on my list. You can share those kind words people said or success stories from past clients. This is something that helps build social proof and trust and shows real life results depending on what kind of testimonial you're putting in there. You can do these as text content. You can make some as images. I like to keep variety in my newsletter, so there are some different ways I will put those testimonials in. Sometimes it is an image, sometimes it is a text. I've had videos in there as well. Including a testimonial is a really good way to make sure you're just adding some of that extra social proof so people can see that you really are someone that has worked with people and what some of the words they're saying about working to you are all about. Now, number 8 on this list is a bonus tip or some inspiration. So this is where I sometimes share to people, add a quick extra tip or resource in there, especially if it's something relevant and supports the main article in the content that you've got in your newsletter. This just adds on and makes your newsletter feel really helpful to people and show them it's not all about selling. And every newsletter you send isn't going to say, buy me, buy my services, buy my products. That's not what it's all about. And when people are skimming through your newsletter, if you have a tip like this that is related to the content you're sharing, it's just a way to ensure those skimmers that are reading fast and maybe not every word get some extra way of taking in something more about the lesson you wanted to share. Now, number 9 is adding in a list, maybe a recap of past or relevant articles that you have. So this is a way to add content in your newsletter that encourages people to take action and click that link, which is a very good metric that the email marketing systems are always checking on. They want to know that people are clicking your links. And when you do this, you're also encouraging them to read supporting articles or lessons you have. You're showing them that every time you tell them to click a link, it is not always about buying something and making a sale. It's an extra way to be helpful. It might be something where you put, in case you missed it, and have a list of 3 or 5 past blogs that you have. I like to make sure we use the title and then link the title to the actual page on the website. So this kind can let people catch up on what they missed. And because you formatted those blogs, like I showed you to in episode 158, it also gives them an opportunity to follow some of your CTAs, your calls to action in those blog articles on your website and take a next step. Again, they can also go to different pages on your website. I like using the blogs because we're trying to, typically when we do this, build the relationship and give them more information and show them how helpful you are. So that is a key thing here in doing this. It's not about getting them to click to sell and buy. Now, a pro tip here is when you are going to do this, go and check the blogs you're referencing first and make sure that anything on there that is out of date is updated. That is key. You don't want to have an old CTA to an old lead magnet or a workshop that you had that is over. Always go in there and update and check those before you send out the newsletter. Now, the 10th element here that you want to include in your newsletter is you want to make it as easy as possible for people to engage with you and reply to the email. So this is going to mean a couple things. You want to check your email marketing system settings, and you want to make sure that when someone hits reply, their message is going to go directly to your inbox and not to a no reply address, which is usually the main one set up originally when you open an account, like ConvertKit or MailerLite or MailChimp. Setting this up will mean some technical verification with your domain and your email, but it is worth it. It helps with your deliverability and your reputation with the email system too. And some of your best leads and consults will start with somebody replying to your newsletter. So it's important to add this in here. And when more and more people do reply to you, that's something those email systems are seeing and they're tracking. And that metric tells them that the emails you send are safe and helpful because people are actually replying back to you. That builds your reputation with them, which is all about helping you get higher deliverability rates, more open rates, and it will also help make sure that your emails and newsletters don't go into the spam filters as much or get hit by the firewalls, because those email systems see people reply back to you. That tells them you're a good person sending out those newsletters and emails. And so that is the 10th item here. These list of items to include. It's a template, it's a formula. You can look at it whatever way you want to. But when you do include these 10 elements in your newsletter, knowing that you're going to do it helps you put the content together. You're not as worried about what to include, what to put in there, what to write. You've got a format of sorts of what you need to do every time that you do it. And because you follow a template like this and you know what you need every time you put one together, it makes it a lot easier to put it all in place. And that makes it easier for you to be consistent too. The other thing about following this template is that putting the whole thing together, it does become faster, but it's also a little more effective because you're including these different parts that all come from that anchor content that you put together in the whole Thrive marketing method that I teach. But putting it in this way means you've got a purpose behind what you're doing in that newsletter. It means you're not doing random marketing. You're not just sending content for the sake of sending out something. You're sending it with a purpose and you're nurturing relationships with people who already know you. And that's what's going to lead to more bookings, more referrals, and long-term growth. Your action step today is to review the 10 steps in this newsletter template and learn how you can write and put together your own newsletter as well. And make sure you do factor these 10 items in every issue of your newsletter you send out. Now, the last 5, there's some optional ones there. If you don't have an event or a promotion going, you may not want to include it. But I do encourage you to do testimonials, the bonus tips, the recap. All of those can be used. Now, maybe this time you send one, you have a testimonial and a tip. Maybe next time you do have an event or something, you put that in there. If you're putting an event in and you're trying to promote something like that, I would not put in the list and the recap of other articles because you don't want them competing with one another. So it gives you some flexible options here on what you can do and what you can include in your own newsletter. And let me know too how it goes if you try it all out. I would love to hear what kind of results you're getting after you make these changes. And if you're seeing a shift in open rates and click rates and people replying to you, I'd love to hear how it is working for you when you do it and try it out. Now, if you're still a little unsure of what to do with this, even with this information, and you'd like me to review your newsletter format and get some advice on its effectiveness, then feel free to book a free marketing review with me. I will have a link to that in the show notes. And during our time together, we'll look at what you're typically sending out, and I'll help you make this template and formula work for you and your private practice too. Because I just want to make it as easy as possible for you to send those newsletters out. They are so important in your marketing toolkit. Emails and newsletters get some of the highest ROI out there from any marketing activity. But people tend to feel it's a big challenge, and that's why they avoid it. So the intent of these 10 items that you can do and put into your own newsletter is all about making it easier for you. And be sure you stay tuned for the next episode. I'm going to break down why I recommend sending your entire article in your newsletter and not just a link to the read more. A lot of people do it, and it is something I have never recommended. Not in my 16 years of working with practice owners, service providers, coaches. I always tell people to put the full article in there, and you'll learn why in that next episode. This is Kathy Colaiacovo saying thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate your listenership. And remember, to thrive in practice means building simple marketing systems like a template like this for your newsletter so that you can stay connected with your clients and build real relationships without spending all of your time marketing as you try to grow your practice or business. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.